Is there a split behind BTS? Why did HYBE seem to silence Jimin after he showed his courage in defending Jungkook? Is this the beginning of the downfall of the system they've been protecting? Check out this true story full of tension and conflict to the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the latest developments from the K-pop world that are not always as beautiful as they look. What would you do if your best friend were attacked by a force far greater than you? Even the same force that has raised you, protected you, and made you who you are today? Will you stand still for your own safety? Or will you rise up and fight back, despite knowing the great risk that awaits you? This question is not just speculation. This is the reality faced by Park Jimin, one of the most influential members in BTS. Behind her smile that always shines on stage, hidden a reality that is now beginning to surface, a reality that could shake the foundations of South Korea's largest entertainment agency, HYBE Corporation, the past few days. The K-pop universe has been shocked by internal rumors that are very surprising and are slowly starting to be confirmed by several nearby sources. It all started when Jungkook, BTS's golden magne, became the center of attention not because of his musical work, but because of a controversy involving his own agency's management. But what makes this situation even more confusing is Jimin's involvement. Not as a mediator, nor as a distancing party, but as a defender, and not just any defender, but a member who publicly showed his disagreement with HYBE's internal policies and treatment of Jungkook. Is this just an ordinary difference of opinion? Or is there something deeper, darker, and scarier? On June 8, 2025, social media suddenly crowded after fans noticed something unusual in the interaction between Jimin and HYBE. A short live stream from Jimin, which lasted only 3 minutes before being abruptly interrupted, became the main subject of speculation. In the video, Jimin in a deep voice says, "There are things I can no longer keep quiet about," before the screen suddenly goes dark. A few minutes later, HYBE's official account posted a statement that seemed to calm the turmoil. Jimin is in a state of exhaustion and has been asked to rest. We hope fans understand and respect her privacy. But this narrative is too predictable and too often used. The question is, why was the live cut off so quickly? Why did Jimin's expression seem so different from usual? And most strikingly, why, after the incident, did Jimin's social media accounts appear to have been purged of some posts that had previously voiced support for Jungkook? Some fans managed to save screenshots of the post, which showed Jimin openly questioning Jungkook's unfair treatment. When someone you consider family feels betrayed, you have to ask, who actually betrayed whom? The sentence spread quickly, being shared thousands of times before finally disappearing from the surface. But the internet never really forgets. From the beginning, HYBE was known as an agency that was very protective of its artists. However, this protection is often considered a form of excessive control. From tight schedules, to tight agreements, to restrictions on interactions outside the official agenda, everything forms a system that makes the public wonder, is this protection or restraint? When Jungkook decided to express his creative ideas more freely, some of HYBE's internal parties were said to be not fully supportive. In fact, rumor has it that some of his solo projects were postponed or changed without his full approval. Jimin, who has been known to be very close to Jungkook since his trainee days, can't seem to stay quiet. Several eyewitnesses from the inner environment mentioned that Jimin had been involved in a heated debate with the management, questioning the policies they implemented. And after that debate, suddenly everything changed. Jimin began to disappear from some official agendas. His face was not seen in some of HYBE's promotions, even when other groups from the agency performed together on one big stage. Is Jimin being punished secretly? Or worse, is this a form of systematic silencing of opposing voices? The thing that gives the most goosebumps is HYBE's efforts in cleaning Jimin's digital footprint. Fans who were notoriously observant observed that not only posts, but also Jimin's interactions, likes, and comments on Jungkook's activities were slowly disappearing. Even some of their video footage that was previously uploaded on the official HYBE channel began to be unavailable. Some international fans started using the hashtags #ProtectJimin and #WhereIsJimin, which immediately became a global trending topic. The usually divided fan community is united this time, demanding an explanation and transparency from the agency. HYBE remains silent. There is no official statement. There is no clarification. Only silence, which in such a context is even more creepy than recognition. It's a question that's starting to be asked in quivering voices by fans who have followed BTS for over a decade. Is the force that once brought BTS to the top of the world now a force that can also destroy them from within? The most striking thing was Jimin's change of attitude. Once known as a figure who always calms and mediates conflicts, now he chooses to be a loud voice defending Jungkook, even though he knows the consequences are severe. Many people ask, what is really going on behind the scenes? Are there any internal conflicts that have been tightly closed? Is this just the surface of a huge iceberg hidden within the system of the K-pop industry? Over and over again, former K-pop idols have voiced the tremendous mental pressure they face. However, when even an idol as big as Jimin can be removed from the stage just for voicing the truth, then we must ask again, how much more must be sacrificed before this system changes? This story isn't just about Jimin or Jungkook. It's about how an industry can cult silence and punish courage. It's about how voices that dare to speak out are perceived as a threat, not a warning. After more and more fans voiced anger, some Korean media began to cover this unrest. But until now, not a single major media outlet has dared to delve deeper. Are they afraid of the great influence of HYBE? Or is there pressure from outside so that this news does not spread more widely? But for sure, public voices are getting louder. More and more international fans sent an open letter to HYBE headquarters, demanding an explanation and justice. Jimin has not returned to the public until now. Jungkook, who is usually very active, also began to reduce his interactions. Many are worried, but many more are angry. The question is no longer what happened, but how long can the truth continue to be hidden? But what happens when the truth becomes the enemy in your own home? When an idol who is considered a role model, who has devoted his life for the sake of the group, for the sake of the company, is treated like a thorn in the flesh only because he chooses alignment on something bigger than image, morality. This controversy is no longer about personal feuds, nor is it just a small misunderstanding that can be cleared up with a public apology or clarification broadcast. It's about the system. About how HYBE, a company long admired for its vision of the future of K-pop, may have been too comfortable holding full control over the narrative, even over the lives of its artists. The public is beginning to realize that this is not simply a matter of management or technical errors. This is a show of power. How could an artist as big as Jimin, whose contribution to BTS is unquestionable, suddenly disappear from the radar just for voicing a defense of the members of one of his own groups? Where is the loyalty of management that has been proud of the value of family and team? Further, painful questions began to arise among the fan community. Was all this time what we saw only illusions neatly curated by invisible hands? Criticism of HYBE now comes not only from fandom. Some industry observers who were usually silent began to express doubts. A former music producer who had worked under HYBE's affiliated label anonymously stated that the control over the artists inside there exceeded professional limits, and that not everyone can survive mentally. These comments add to the cloudiness of the situation, as they illustrate a systemic pattern that is darker than just tensions between individuals. Especially when a leaked audio recording emerged that was allegedly an internal conversation between HYBE's management representatives and someone who was mentioned as Jimin's close person. In the 47-second audio, the phrase is heard, "Tell him, he can't talk carelessly like that. This could ruin us all. If he stays stubborn, we have a way to keep him quiet." The sentence hit the public like a sledgehammer. Although the authenticity of the recording has not been verified, many have stated that the voice sounds very similar to some of the senior staff who have appeared in official BTS documentaries. If this proves to be true, then it is not only moral issues that are at stake, but also public trust in the entire face of the Korean entertainment industry. And if there really is a way to keep someone quiet, then we have to ask, how many other idols have been silenced long before we realized they ever had a voice? Jimin's silence was not just a symbol of frustration, it was now an icon of resistance against the silent oppression that was killing courage one by one. Many fans are now voicing that if Jimin, such a popular and powerful figure, can be suppressed in such a way, then what will be the fate of rookie idols who do not even have the strength to say no? The burning anger among fans is not only because of the loss, but because of the feeling of betrayal. It was like watching the walls that we had been painting with hope collapse one by one, stone by stone, because of a foundation that turned out to be fragile and filled with falsehood. Not a few voiced a boycott against HYBE and the labels under her. The boycott intensified after several sponsors began quietly withdrawing from BTS-related projects. There was fear, there was anxiety, and there was tremendous pressure from two sides: fans who demanded transparency and management who tried to put out the fire by closing the vents of truth.I. In the midst of this storm, Jungkook's voice also slowly disappeared, like a shadow forcibly pulled backstage. Is he being pressured? Or is it a strategy to fight back? More than that, are we now witnessing the beginning of the biggest split in the history of the world's most influential K-pop group? A former editor of a South Korean entertainment magazine firmly stated that BTS's story could be a great lesson for the industry, or it could be the most painful tragedy in modern music history, depending on how the public forces the system to change. The phrase resonated in fan discussion forums and has now become a quote that continues to be repeated. But until now, Jimin has not given an official statement. And precisely because of this, the power of the narrative is getting out of hand. Speculation becomes a weapon. Fear becomes fuel. And silence, oh, that silence is no longer neutral. Silence is the most tragic form of oppression. When a person knows too much to be allowed to talk. HYBE probably thinks they can control this story. But this time, they were faced with millions of eyes and ears that would not turn away. Now the question is no longer who is at fault, but who is brave enough to dismantle it all. What we are witnessing today could be the beginning of an end that has been delayed. Or rather, the beginning of a silent uprising that finally shook the entire foundation of K-pop from within. But what makes this situation even more gripping and provocative is that the louder the public sounds, the deeper HYBE digs into the grave of silence. When the voices of fans peaked, when public opinion began to turn into insistence, HYBE did not respond with clarifications, they responded with deletions. Video deletion, track record deletion, existence deletion. It was as if Jimin had never spoken. It was as if there had never been a moment where he questioned the company's decision towards Jungkook. It's as if there was never a question he threw at the system that raised him, and now silences it. The fact that idols of Jimin's class can be systematically ghosted by the company he helped build from the ground up is shocking and painful. This is the cruelest irony in modern K-pop history. A world star, standing on international stages, hailed as a symbol of unity and freedom of expression, is denied a voice in her own home. Increasingly, there is a smell of a conspiracy much more complex than just disagreements between artists and agencies. There are whispers that HYBE is now starting to treat BTS no longer as people who live, think, and have hearts, but as assets that are only valuable as long as they are silent. There are unofficial reports from internal staff saying that the instructions not to include Jimin in some promotional content did come from the very top level. He is not resting, the source said. He was silenced, and they want people to think he chose to disappear. And this is what makes things even darker. There are rumors that several other BTS members, including Jungkook, began to experience equal treatment after being seen still showing closeness to Jimin. Even in a video that went viral, fans captured a moment where Jungkook was seen being reprimanded by a staff member after mentioning Jimin's name in his live broadcast. The next day, the broadcast was cut off. HYBE really reworking their internal narrative by removing one by one the elements that are considered to endanger the stability of the corporation? Or rather, the stability of power. The industry is no stranger to double-sided faces. In front of the camera, everything looks perfect, compact, smiling, full of love. But behind the stage, behind the boardroom, behind the black screen of exclusive contracts that bind until the last breath, idols can lose control of their voice and even their own identity. And it's no longer just about controlling the media. It's about reshaping reality. HYBE seems to believe that as long as they can control the narrative, then they can reshape who is right and who is wrong, who deserves to be pitted and who deserves to be eliminated. But what if the public refuses to believe it? What happens when the fans, who had been considered only passive consumers, turn into an active force that refuses to be dictated to? All this leads to one very uncomfortable conclusion. HYBE is probably creating a new, very dangerous precedent, that loyalty to the truth is a sin, and silence is the only form of devotion they allow. And if this is left unchecked, then we will not only lose, Jimin from the stage. We're going to lose the whole humanist face of K-pop. We will witness the formation of a new generation of idols who dare not ask, dare not refuse, dare not take sides. Because if Jimin can be silenced, anyone can. More than that, it raises an existential question that should shake the entire entertainment industry. Who exactly owns the voices of the artists? Are they themselves? Or are they the ones who sign their paychecks? What does freedom of expression mean when an artist has to choose between his voice and his career? HYBE probably did not expect that the removal of Jimin's voice would actually give birth to a new wave of awareness among fans. They don't realize that in the information age, silencing one person will only give birth to 1,000 new voices. And this time, the voices could not be silenced with short statements or false clarifications. This time, fans demanded evidence. Fans demanded recognition. Fans demand accountability. And more than that, fans are demanding justice. Will you stay silent when a system tries to corner those who stand up for the truth? Would you just believe that an artist can disappear for no apparent reason? Or will you be part of a generation that refuses to be blind? Your voice matters. Continue this discussion. Let the world know that we will not forget. Don't just be a spectator of the silent destruction of an artist you used to cheer for. Give me your comments. Show that you care. Like, share, and subscribe to keep this story alive. Because if you stop talking, then those who want to silence will win. And this time, it's not just Jimin who will be missing, but all our hopes are for justice in the entertainment world. Remember one thing, a silenced voice does not mean that it disappears, it just waits for its time to explode. And that day may be closer than they think.